All right, y'all, what's up? This is the guy, Brandon Alexander, and I came here to talk about jealousy. Now, why did I want to talk about jealousy? Well, I came across a Facebook post the other day, and it said, God is a jealous God. And I thought to myself, God is jealous. That don't sound right. How can God be jealous? Like, the creator of our universe is jealous? I mean, he created everything. How can you be jealous? Well, I'm like, okay, I understand. Okay, let's see. Where did this word come from? Jealous. Let's see. And I just threw this video together. It's a little rough. Let's see where we can start here. All right. Jealousy. Jealousy is a complex emotion that is generally defined as a feeling of resentment or envy towards someone's achievements, possessions, or relationships. It can manifest in a variety of ways, from suspicion and distrust to anger and bitterness. The word jealousy has roots in the old French word jealousy, which originally meant possessive, and is related to the Latin word zealosus, which means eager. The modern meaning of the word developed in English in the 13th century, around the 13th century, 1300s, which was initially described as feelings of suspicion or mistrust in romantic relationships. I mean, you got a wife, you see her with another dude, you get jealous, And over the time, the meaning of jealousy has expanded to include other forms of envy and resentment, such as envy of someone's success, wealth, social status, and today jealousy is widely recognized as a common human emotion and is subject of much research and exploration in fields such as psychology, sociology, and philosophy. While jealousy can be a natural and even healthy response to certain situations, it can also be destructive. It can also be a destructive emotion that can lead to feelings of insecurity, anger, and resentment. As such, it is often seen as a negative emotion that should be managed and overcome through self-reflection, communication, and empathy. Okay. So from that meaning right there itself, I mean, does that sound like something God could be? All right, let's further this. Let's look into this further. Exodus 20, verse 5. You shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of the fathers to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me. That's Old Testament. King James Version. Now we got a problem there. To the average person, we may not have a problem, but I see a problem. Now, we have to understand these are Hebrew texts, so it's kind of hard to explain the God of the Hebrews having an emotion that starts with the letter J, because as a lot of people know, some don't know, the Hebrew language does not contain the letter J. So first off, for you to tell me the God of the Hebrews said he was jealous, I'm going to have a problem with that. Now, me, myself, I like to go to the root. Now, some people, they look at the King James Version as the authorized King James Version. But I mean, where did the King James Version come from? It actually came from what some people know as the Torah, the first, the 5 books of Moses. Me, myself, I keep a Sefer. And the difference between a Sefer and a regular Bible is that the Sefer has all the original names of the gods as it was written, in the original scriptures. I try to explain to people all the time, like, King James and all these different Bibles, they took the actual Torah, the teachings, and they changed all the names of the gods into the word God, and they minimalized him, and they, tried to throw this monotheistic belief on people, which is not true in the Bible, which is, kind of hard to explain to people. Even most pastors, they have no idea these things. And it's like, you're supposed to be a man of God, you should know these things. So I took the time out. Let me see here. This is the Sefer. And let's see what it says. Chapter 20, verse 5. You should not bow down yourself to them, nor serve them. For I, Yahuwah Elohayaka, am a jealous El, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, upon the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. All right. Like I said, this is my Sefer. They don't say God, they actually give you the name of the God, because God is a general term. Gods have names. I mean, just the fact that he said, don't put any other gods before me, he's acknowledging the fact that there are other gods. We have to actually take these texts for what they say. And if you really want to find out, let's dig in and see who Yahuwah Elohayaka is, we can dig further. Let's just see who the fuck. Okay. I had to just check the meaning of that just to get a real in-depth meaning. And Elohayaka actually means the personal name of God. So let me read that one more time. You should not bow down yourself to them, nor serve them, for I, Yahuwah Elohayaka, am a jealous El, which means God, visiting the iniquity upon the fathers to the third, fourth generation. Okay. Now that we found out the personal name of God, we don't even have to go there. That's a whole nother video for a whole nother day that will be coming soon. But as for now, the jealousy thing. So we've already established what jealousy was and, where we get this doctrine from. And like I told you, this stuff is Hebrew. In the Hebrew language, they don't have a letter J. So like I said to myself, how can the God of the Hebrews be jealous? And it actually has in here written that I, Yahuwah, said these things. I am a jealous God. It says this clearly. But if he said this, how could he say this, but there is no letter J? A little bit more context. Explaining the letter J was not added to the Latin alphabet until the 16th century. When it was introduced to distinguish between the sounds of the letters I and J, before the letter I was used to represent both the vowel sound and the consonant sound that we now know associated with the letter J. So, this is just basically explaining that the letter J did not exist in Hebrew. So, all right, let's take it back a little bit. God wrote the Ten Commandments, the God of the Hebrews. He writes a letter J and says that he's jealous, even though there is no letter J in existence. So obviously, just like I try to explain to people, these are stories. Beautifully written stories, but these are stories. And to really show you, let me get more in depth. Okay. Because a lot of the stuff, like I said, it was from a Facebook post, and this lady and, they came at me and, talking about I was just chattering useless banter. And I was trying to explain to them, it's not that, some things you just know, and God is not jealous. Emotion is jealous. God is the spirit. Spirits don't go, they don't thrive off emotion. But anyway. See this book right here? It's called Tanakh. It's always good to get these things because this is the original, the Tanakh. And the difference between the Tanakh and the regular Bible is the Tanakh was actually written in Hebrew from right to left, in Hebrew, in ancient Hebrew, which is a dead language. So even with that thought being said, so they took these ancient texts, which were written in Hebrew, from right to left, took them and what we would call perversed them, which means they actually literally took them and wrote them backwards in English, at the time, Lower English, Lower Middle English, which we speak of higher form of English now, which is ultimately it was a lower form of German, which was kind of like German slang, but it took on its own thing and formed English and started to form the English language. But it's a backwards language, even compared to Spanish and other languages. Just the pronunciation and saying simple things in sentences like the house is red or the red house. It's a backwards language. So they took the Torah, the law, and wrote it backwards. So off the rip, they perversed it and wrote it backwards. Then obviously, along the way, they added some things like jealousy. Because just like I said, the Hebrew language does not have the letter J in it. So you say, all right, well, if the Hebrew language doesn't have the letter J in it, how did they write the Ten Commandments? This stuff was all in there. Well, let's see. Let's see what the original scripture says. And see, this is how it's kind of set up, One side, they have the original Hebrew, and on the other side, they mirror that with the English. And let's see what it says. You shall not bow down to them or serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am an impassioned God, visiting the guilt of the parents upon the children, upon the third and fourth generations of those who reject me. Hold on. It doesn't say anything about jealousy. Well, of course, it can't say anything about jealousy because the original Hebrew, the word jealousy does not exist. Hebrews didn't even have a word for jealousy. Hold on. Hebrews didn't even have a word for jealousy. Let me read that again. For you shall not bow down to them or serve them, for I am the Lord your God, am an impassioned God. Impassioned, jealous. So at what point in time did they add these things in? It's just like I said, I just showed you right there. I mean, it's right there. And then just, I also got this, a Torah, the 5 books of Moses, right here. Exodus 20, verse 5. Yep. For I, the Lord of God, am an impassioned God, vision upon it. Yeah, nothing about jealousy. Nothing. Now, another good book to have is the Vines. Oh, yeah. I'm having a pronunciation problem today. Vines Expositionary Dictionary of Old Testament and New Testament words. Now, another thing that somebody told me, oh, well, you're taking the context in which, they're using the word jealousy. And it's like, well, no. I looked it up in the Old Testament, and this is a good book to have because they actually explain the definition of the words in the Old Testament as what they meant at that time, not the meaning that we place upon them now. Only thing about it is the word jealousy isn't in here. I tried to find it, but because the Old Testament is in Hebrew and there is no letter J, there aren't any Old Testament letter J meanings in this book. Because I'm looking for it and I'm like, damn, HIJKLH, but, you can't tell people these things, especially pastors that's been to divinity school, they running around with this doctrine, which is not scriptural. I mean, I just showed you how can you even trust the scriptures. I mean, if your pastor is preaching out of the King James Version, question everything. Question it. I just showed you. There is no letter J in the Hebrew language. So if somebody tells you the God who created the Hebrew text in 10 Commandments said he was jealous, is a lie. Let me say that one more time. If your pastor or anybody, the books that you read, KJB, all of that, say that God was jealous, that's a lie. I got a few other things. Let me just see. I know this is a rough video. I kind of threw it together last minute. I got some Bible verses and stuff that just really bring it home for you. Like it really brings it home for you. And I wrote all this stuff out, with some Bible verses. Like I said, One of the challenges in exploring the theme of jealousy and envy in the Bible is the presence of seemingly contradictory verses that express different attitudes towards these emotions. And see, that's another thing, like, I have a problem with. Like, if you're a pastor and you're not man enough to admit the contradictions in the Bible, I really have to question your authenticity, because that means that you are not honoring the truth. Because the truth of the matter, regardless of all the truths in the Bible, there are contradictions. And if you are not willing to face that fact, then you should not be teaching out of that book, because you will not be wholly telling the truth, because it's contradictions all in it. And just for the fact somebody added that about being jealous in the book of the law, which actually means they added this in and changed the law, which is a whole nother, like I said, that's a whole nother video. Like I said, they perversed it just by writing it backwards, which means they wrote it backwards in English in cursive, which means they wrote it in a curse style, meaning after they perversed it and they teach it to you, now you're cursed in place and locked upon this system that's built upon lies. But anyway, let's get into this. Let's finish this lesson right quick. Like I said, you got to kind of, like I said, one of the challenges of exploring jealousy in the Bible is just, like I said, the seemingly contradictions. A heart at peace gives the body to life. A heart at peace gives life to the body, but envy rots to the bone. I saw that the toil and all achievement spring from one person's envy of another. This too is meaningless. A chasing after a win suggesting that envy can be a motivating force for success and achievement. I mean, I guess I kind of get that, I mean, you get envious to someone and it motivates you to do better. But if you're the God of the world, you don't get jealous because you are the better. Anyway, and then this verse, James 3:14-16. But if you harbor bitter envy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast about it or deny the truth. Such wisdom does not come down from heaven, but is earthly, unspiritual, demonic. For where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you find disorder and ever evil practice, suggesting that envy is a negative and harmful emotion that can lead to destructive behavior. So, according to this, such wisdom is unspiritual and demonic. But yet and still, for some reason, somebody added in there that Yahuwah is jealous. But at the same time, in James, they said that it's demonic. I'm confused. Pastor, can you help me out? Can you help me out? Now, I just showed y'all that the letter J doesn't exist in the Hebrew alphabet. So there was no possible way for the God of the Hebrews to be running around talking about he was jealous. And for somebody to write this in the scriptures actually showed you somebody perverse these things. Just a few more, just a few more, 7 more, all of them. This is what the Lord Almighty says. I am very jealous for Zion. I am burning with jealousy for her. Again, there are no letter J's. So wherever you see this is where somebody manipulated the word. Therefore, as surely as I live, declares the sovereign Lord, I will treat you in accordance with anger and jealousy you showed in your hatred of them, and I will make myself known among them. Oh my God, it doesn't stop. It's jealousy again. Okay. They made me jealous by what is no God angered with me. Again, the Hebrews didn't have a word for jealousy. But like I said, you can't tell nobody nothing. So obviously, what are we talking about here? And there's a few more. New Testament, for he knew it was out of envy that the chief priest had handed Jesus over to him. Yeah. And so I guess, whatever. Because the patriots were jealous of Joseph, they sold him as a slave into Egypt. For he knew it was out of envy that they had handed Jesus over to him. I mean, just just all these verses of the negativity, the negative aspects of just being jealous, period. Why would someone want to attach that to God? And then the men of God go out preaching this stuff. And just like I said, I just showed you the original text. It's not even there. It said impassioned. Impassioned and jealous is not even in the same realm. Like I said, jealousy is an emotion, just to bring that on home. I have one more, last one, then I'm going to get out of here. Let's see, where's that at?